really delighted to be talking to you all. And I think that we all come and arrive to this place having a variety of roles in this day. And so I invite you to, if you have your shoes on and you can, perhaps take your shoes off. If you're sitting in a chair, to sit well so that you feel your sits bones underneath your pelvis, and you can have a soft belly in your belly and your sternum. I invite your sternum to be upright and soft, your heart open and a strong back. And to allow yourself to just embody this body, which is nature articulating for you in this life. And take a moment, perhaps if you've come with some fullness from a Friday, feel free to drop in to say hello to your body, to your cells, to your breath, and to allow yourself to have the biggest breath of the day. Give yourself that invitation. And just to arrive here. And while we have this beautiful company for the next half hour, 45 minutes, part of what gets us here is through our body and the instrumentation and the attunement and the awareness of all of the miracles that happen just by us tuning in and being willing to receive. So a little bit about me is that I started this company called Healing Roots Design, which is the edible medicinal landscape design business. And it was founded in 2009. And I really love to establish foodscapes and garden spaces for other people. It is a regenerative landscape maintenance installation business and site planning as well. And so these are some of my mighty and small crew members on the journey with me. Michael Bartholomew, who is one of the ecological design leads. He also runs a lot of our installations, and he tag teams with me in terms of design process and our client relationship. Sunil is our newest addition. He ran Patchwork Urban Farm Alliance, which is a CSA cooperative, really cool organization here in town. He is deeply into regenerative agriculture, and I quoted him many times in the book. We have worked in collaboration and educational pursuits around regenerative land and life design prior to me hiring him, but he's just a joy to bring on. And then a person who doesn't appreciate getting her photo in these presentations is Caroline Williford, who is our communication specialist. And so I just want to share that oftentimes there's a lot of shoulders that we are uplifted by the people behind us. And so I just want to make them visible so that you're aware that we are a small and mighty team here. I am the CEO of Healing Roots Design, as well as for Regenerative Life Design. And in 2023, I was named as the Greenbelt Alliance Sustainability Leader for our community. That was a deep honor for me to receive by Greenbelt Alliance. And to me, it means that there's a readiness for land and life design solutions to have a new experience in mainstream. And what I'm sharing is about an inner and outer landscape. So as we sat and just tuned in, perhaps we closed our eyes in that little meditation I offered, that there's this whole orchestration that's happening behind the scenes. And the more that we attune ourselves to what's hurting, what's numb, what is throbbing, what feels really good. I think that we orient ourselves around that sense, those senses that can really help us in the world navigate people with compassion, navigate how to engage and interact with our environment, and how to show up for ourselves and others in the work that we do. Here are a few of the folks that we work for and work with. These are clients and partners. Some of these have been educational organizations that I teach at in gatherings that intersect between culture and music and creating cultural topsoil, as well as places where I have presented a class, as well as conversations around regeneration, around ego versus echo, around how to harness our limiting beliefs, how to minimize our negative or depleting patterns that we create in our lives, how to align with our purpose, and how to create positive habits so that our purpose and our vision align out loud and in the world. And so much of that has to do with our inner work, which is an aspect that you will see and experience me operating from an inside and outside perspective throughout this little lecturette. And so the point, I think, that I have just been my opportunity, I think it's one of my destinies, is to uplift Earth Keepers and all of us. And so I personally do that through land and life design solutions and being an ear for folks who want to grow foodscapes, grow apothecaries in their garden, feed pollinators, love creating sanctuary for their neighbors, however way it plays out. But in this imperative or in this role for myself, I strive to be consistently adaptable in service to the whole and to be collaborative designers of a more beautiful world. And for me, that really all changed, or at least I learned a deeper metaphor when I was working with one of my clients in her compost bin when she had just left, but her partner had just passed and left his body. And she was really grieving, and she was very stuck in what appeared to her to be in a grief response and deeply emotional. And I just looked at her and said, all your tears are welcome. Like your love is out in the world. It's made manifest. It's beautiful. Nothing can be taken away from you. Nothing is lost. Take a look at this compost. The more that you feed your compost, the more that it actually is taking the decay of a life that was truly lived, and it ends up metabolizing and transforming and permitting another menagerie of opportunities to birth forth from it. And so here you are, in the midst of a life, death cycle, and you get a chance to really endear your love to yourself now and see that person all over the place. And the more that we really connect as energetic, spiritual creatures, the more we're connected to this experience of the whole and in deeper participation with the world around us. So for me, the sense of belonging, the sense of place, the intimacy that we can feel, developing awareness tools that support the ways that I know my sacred no, I know my sacred yes, I'm able to articulate that, the way that I'm able to show compassion and love, and the way that I can be in relationship has everything to do with how my vision bursts forth from my life out into the world. And so the nature regenerative life design came about as this initial call from this client who gave me this gift of perspective of really seeing this inner landscape, and how, this reawakens us to being in right relationship with our inherent nature, to be custodians to ourselves and then also to the planet. The book was written, it took me about 1.5 years to write, and in it, I call it a playbook because it has 2 dozen songs and meditations that go along with it. And so that is to help us to uplift the human heart, to move through the shortcomings of the modern human, as well as to dial in our innocence and let nature help us in our places of separation, conditionality, and suffering. You can find it on Amazon, as well as through, there's a digital copy as well on our website. And this sweet mandala picture is a picture of fruition from the two women who I purchased a house and get to steward this land with. We brought our prayers and deep intentionality into the process, our design process of finding a home here in Western North Carolina. And we took great lengths to feed our community and feed the land and deeply listen and be receptive to the answers that came on the wind or that came in a stroke of insight. And I think that that's what really helped us to find the place where we live now. For some of you, I believe you have the book, and thank you for supporting your life's purpose and really getting clear about how you can be an agent of social change. And I'm glad to help you on your journey. This illustration is the botanical plant parts of a growth cycle for plants. And for humans, this also animates the macro and the micro in our lives. And so we can imagine whatever moves our passion, whatever moves our work, our craft in the world, goes through these stages of development. We just might not see it. But when we're able to embrace nature's intelligence all around us and know that we are also reflecting that, it's easier to get out of the head a bit of some of the stagnancy, the frustration, the paralysis, the apathy that we can really experience in our life. And we can see ourselves with greater holism and dignity about we're a person with a growth cycle, and we are also surrendering to that tenderness of what is right in front of us. And when we can move with a little bit more grace through the passages of our life, we also are giving ourselves a whole lot of self-love and deep modeling as well for those who witness us moving through tough times and times of celebration. And so this is an invitation for anyone who wants to speak. I would love us to look at these botanical plant parts as nature. We have a few of them here. I'm going to say them aloud. And if anyone wants to chime in and say, hey, I have one for my life, this is what it looks like for me. I totally invite you to share with us so we get to know you a little bit more. And then we also get to embrace the cycle more with togetherness, because this is throughout all the domains of our life, this dormancy, this dreaming, this ignition, this fruition, and then the breakdown is just an aspect of what we're going to experience time and time and time again. And even when we leave these bodies, it's still going to continue. So I choose to embrace and anticipate these life forms as a way to be more enriched by the whole, and to alleviate ourselves from some of the stress of the ride, because we know what's coming potentially. Most all of nature experiences this birth and then the decay and then the succession of another plant, another species. And so we are also riding that same wave. So for root is a storage of sugars in the plants. It's an indication of the reserves. It can be really thick. It can be really thin. I have a really well-respected friend in the permaculture world, and we've been talking about hosting classes. And what I'm learning about ourselves is that as I'm observing and interacting with her, I find that she is very slow to respond back to me. And so I can't move through these cycles unless I decide to over-initiate these cycles with her. And so right now, the idea of us being collaborators in permaculture is just a root idea. There's a lot of reserves. We've had some conversations. We've had some workshops. We actually even know what we might do together. But because there's a glitch in the communication system right now, the root, it's all a potential. There's a lot of research and development, right? There's visioning. You can think of, this is a hibernation time. This is a very winter growth stage. It's the time of the bear. It's the time of having the visions. It's the long view, right? So it's like all of this work that happens underneath the surface, and it's work, and it has to happen potentially, unless you just want to leap, but yes, I would say, preparing for a move, thinking about a move, figuring out, what neighborhood, what school district, if they have Frisbee golf in that place and you love Frisbee golf, for example, that would be a route. Thank you. All right, so STEM. So STEM is new beginnings, it's embarking, it's risking everything to begin. STEMs sometimes they feel exciting, they can feel a little overwhelming, because there's no going back. And then leaf, starting to create its own energy. So leaves are photosynthesizing the energy from the sun. And so they are able then to kind of begin their own generation of power. I am in 100 days of movement. It's a decision that I made because I've accumulated some stress weight from last year, and I'm ready to live my best health life. And so the leaf is the motivation that I feel when I see the sparkle in my eye return, when I see the scale change, when a friend tells me I got some extra today. I think that is finally, it's creating its own energy, right? It's like there's something good about the motivation, the discipline that I've put in, and now it's harder for me to say no to it because it's out in the world, because people are seeing me change, and I like to see myself change. Does that make sense? How about tendril? So tendril is making connections, course correcting. It's going towards the sun. So this one, for example, would be like networking that business, or doing some research and development for that next idea, a new level of complexity in your life. It could be deciding what drains your energy in the wellness wheel, either in the book, or also just acknowledging, things that deplete your energy, things that like give you extra power and motivation and insight and feel good impulses. And so that tendril could be like, wow, I really like to play pickleball. I'm gonna post on Facebook, who wants to play pickleball with me? Or it is, I'm excited to write a book, and I need to know, am I going to self-publish, or am I going to, put out my manuscript? So it's getting some more information. And if you imagine, you're already heading towards the sun, but you're feeling it out. There's an intuitional aspect to tendril. Branching is community junctions. So it needs that horizontal stability for strength. So putting systems in place, right, that build efficiency and elegance, using those positive or negative feedback loops for course correcting, for change, for securing that funding, for securing those champions out in the world, for getting some mentorship when you know of a blind spot. All of a sudden you're aware of a blind spot and you're like, I think I need help on this. In order for me to get to my next place of mastery in myself, I need stability. Awesome. Thank you for your comments. I hope this is really helpful for your lives and the ways that you might embrace yourself a little bit more fully as you move through life. So Bud is the pregame, where timing is everything. It is the time, the bud is waiting for the rain to pass. It's waiting for the ideal conditions from the sun. It does not want to be eaten by an animal first before it's almost there. Like for any of the mothers out there, or any of the mothers or fathers who birth projects, who birth businesses, that there is a timing to it. that sometimes we're a little premature, sometimes that project has it needs a certain set of conditions to be fully ripened, to finally let itself unfurl and open up. Flower. So flower is coherent and beautiful, fleeting expression. And so this is the moment when the pollinators come, when we drink from the beauty of something. It's also incredibly ephemeral, meaning that it is not around very long, but it's unfurled, it's exposed, and it is magnetizing. I could think of a partnership with this. Maybe, the fleeting expression might be a little suspect because ideally people are in it for the long haul with each other. But there is this, the outward expression of love, and this, verbal display, inviting people to a wedding, having this moment of fruition to come. Maybe I shouldn't have used the word fruition, but just having this moment of celebration of we have truly arrived, something like that. So I could see a wedding kind of take that experience, or a video release, right? I'm a film producer. I'm not, but the release of my film, the release of this book is there, some publicity about it, sharing of the news, elation. Those are all things that come from that energy of flower in a growth cycle. And then fruit is the giveaway, maturation through decay and storage. So on the other side of this beautiful flower, I got a flower. This was from a women's retreat that I facilitated. She was beautiful for about 10 days, and now she's starting to wither. And she's changing form. And so had she been still on the rose bush, she would have turned into a fruit. And so that is the opportunity for us to bear witness to the maturation of a flower. It is the storage that keeps the cycle continuing. And so the more that we really embody and cherish the changing phases, the more that we give ourselves a chance to breathe through them too and experience them more fully. And the seed is a curated piece of art. It has memory to it. It contains with it all of its adaptive strategies. And it also has this memory of what it is at full growth. So a seed of an oak, for example, knows itself and its potentiality as an adult, which I find so marvelous to think about. The huge giveaway of oaks and our mass trees every fall. And so this seed is the wholeness. It has the best strategies for living. And it is, after all of the external has died away, it's the pieces that are contained within. So Julie, I love the idea. I think I'm just gonna use that one for right now. The piece about, watching children leave the nest and then having them kind of have their own nests. It's so as if, as intended, the cycle continues. Okay, so this slide here is just an example of, so the Regenerative Life Design Playbook has 8 chapters to it, and each one helps the steward at large create some emotional support and awareness and decision-making skill sets around the different domains of their life. And so the chapters follow lifestyle, they start with self. The first lesson is self. So knowing oneself and identifying who you are, and then it goes to community, which is the shortcomings of the modern human. It's everything else outside of ourselves. And then we moved into ecology, which is really helpful for us to understand our limiting beliefs about ourselves, our times, our energetic loops that we get into, whether positive or negative. And there's an exercise in the book that's called an ecological niche analysis, which I think is really helpful for people to understand what their yields are. So the things that they are inherently good at, the things that are predators to them. So that could be, sleeping less than 6 hours, or, being in too loud of a space for too long, or not eating on time, or not taking any medications, or whatever it might be. Negative people, that's another example. And so ecology also includes patterns and principles of permaculture, which is this design science that is supporting nature's intelligence to create these communities or projects or lives that are using this these patterns of observation to support a more thrival and more interconnection and deeper relating. And so following that, we go into career. So using some of the permaculture principles, some of them, for example, are observe and interact. I'm sure you've used them many times in your life. You're just perhaps not aware of them. But one of the first ones is observe and interact. One of the second one is patterns to details. So if I fell in love with someone tomorrow, might not be a good idea for me to move in with them next week. And an idea that like things take a little bit of time, that I need to kind of interact and understand and really feel my gut instincts to determine whether something's right for me. Then we move into career, and those questions are inviting people to know now that they know what they like, to also now be seeing what they seek in alignment with their purpose and their sense of self-experiencing, and then also with the gifts that they want to share with the world. What is there to give away? Just like that oak tree, dropping all of those oaks, some for the squirrels and other terrestrial creatures, and some also to propagate their family of seedlings. And we also have a body chapter too, which helps people to identify and bring more embodiment principles into their life. There's a food chapter as well, so bringing the food chain and conscious consumerism, and using a nature-informed, more nutrient-dense approach to feeding ourselves inside and out. And then also lifestyle. So how are we in our physical, in our social wellness and well-being? Where is it where we are not being truthful with ourselves about the patterns in our life, and how we might be able to bring ourselves to greater coherence? And so this is an example of all of the different domains of activity that the book covers, and helps someone with more creative brainstorming around loving themselves to be exactly who they need to be. And this is the PDF that I'm going to share with y'all. So the quiz is called How Regenerative Are You? I'm going to take a quick look at our, I think I may just give this to you, because I want to sing a song and I want to still interact a little bit more. But this is also going through the different lessons in the book: food, health and well-being, lifestyle, ecology, career, self, body, relationship, and community. And it's asking people questions, and you can either check it off, or you could give yourself a 1 to 10 to do a self-evaluation process. So at the beginning of the book, you may have some limited beliefs, you may have some understandings or some emergent growth opportunities and edges, and then you're willing to claim some of them, and do a review of your life's experience and maybe make some modifications. And then over time, those modifications really grow you to be a person that's more coherent, more true to yourself. And so you're invited to also then after this self-awareness tool, and after you design the life that you love, that you can take a look at this list again and see if you've made any improvements. A lot of these questions are, speaking directly to some of the principles that I spoke about for nature's intelligence. And it's also a way for us to be more embracing, less belittling, less, insufferable in some ways about how we be in different ways. And it just allows us to have a little bit more curiosity and open embracing of the places where we want to see improvements and change, and invite ourselves into that growth cycle. And here's another assessment. So in the book, there's also a lot of questions that are helping people to really understand themselves more clearly, and invite some reflection and greater intimacy, so that we can get at a better sense of belonging with ourselves, and that sense of purpose, and that inner relationship that I was speaking about in the beginning of our conversation, or my monologue. And so here's just a few of the principles. So observe and interact. So here are some questions, some example questions that are in the book. What do you observe in yourself when with other people? Do you listen to yourself? What behaviors have you noticed in your decision-making process, which are beneficial and which hinder your progress or momentum? There's a principle called capture and store energy. And so that would be some questions that are a part of this section are: what gives you energy, a sense of excitement, wonder, curiosity, and eagerness to engage with life? So knowing those things about myself, I can say yes to more of those things. And I know that more of those feelings of pleasure, enjoyment, contentment, and happiness will carry me through each day. Who and what are your energy drains and vampires or predators? What or who do you enjoy being around? What are you not engaging in that you wish you were? So is there a question? So just identifying and having more self-reflection time to yourself. These are journal prompts that help you get a little bit further in with yourself. And how do we hold people accountable for wrongdoing and yet at the same time remain in touch with their humanity enough to believe in their capacity to be transformed? So the book is supporting of people to look at the shortcomings of the modern human, and that also acknowledges systems of oppression that pervade society far and wide, as well as right here at home. And so the idea for us is to learn about our traumas, to learn about our history, and to use our agency in our community where we can find that love. And so aligning with life-giving shared values that care for people and planet, that redistribute the surplus, support a co-creative imagining of this world together. And my drum teacher yesterday actually really inspired me by saying, in this week of love, when things get really disparaging, or I am met with a conflict, or I really start to feel my sword come up in conversation, he asked the question, what would love do? And I think oftentimes that's one of the Earth's kind of basic tenets to humans as well, is that there's so much love made evident in the ways in which every calorie comes from this earth, that these bodies, were gestated inside of a fetus, and that that the carbon dioxide that is transpired by trees is the exact opposite as the oxygen that we need to survive. And so we are living in 30,000 generations of interrelationship, of interbeing and interconnectedness with the natural world. And it's only been 1,000 years or so of colonialism, of imperialism, of patriarchy, of racist, divisive structures. And if we allow ourselves to breathe into the meta of how we actually belong here, I think so much of it brings us a lot of solitude or solace and a lot of self-witness and deep empathy and compassion for what the work is really needed in the world. And I know for me that that's actually been one of my deeper kind of acquaintance ways of me continuing to acquaint myself with the work that I'm choosing in the world and to live as art and to live knowing that I am fully present for causing less harm on the planet. So I want to sing a song. And then I'm gonna invite, there's another song on the next page, and you're welcome to sing with me if you'd like. This song is from Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, who he was a global spiritual leader, a poet, and a peace activist. He started Plum Village, which is in France. I've never been there, but I wonder if anyone has been there. So his work in the world is really pioneering teachings on mindfulness and on inner peace, as well as global ethical peace. And he was the person who coined this term interbeing, or the interconnectedness of all. So I'm going to share this song, and it's a song that you can find online as well, but I think it's really appropriate for this time of life, as we see so many systems in disrepair, in dysfunction, in dysregulation, and we're also seeing humanity in despair, in dysfunction and dysregulation. And I think the more that we release ourselves from looking at the screens and we invite our feet to touch the ground and we celebrate our inner strength and know who we are and know what our inherent yields and gifts are to the world, as well as the predators that might undermine it, the more that we're able to really be speak from a place of certainty and equanimity, and hopefully be more of service to the greater world. And this song to me encapsulates how compassion, how seeing it all as a witness attunes us to a more compassionate heart and allows us to use the muscle of compassion to lead the way. My joy is like a spring so warm, it makes flowers bloom all over the earth. My pain is like a river of tears, so vast it fills the 4 oceans. Please call me by my true name so that I can hear the cries and the laughter, so that I may know that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true name so that I can wake up and the doors of my heart remain open. And the doors of my heart remain open. So Leah Penniman said it best. We know there's no going back to normal. The path forward demands that we take our rightful places as the younger siblings in creation, deferring to the oceans, forest, and mountains as our teacher. And so as we know our history, as we see the sword that's possible and potential inside of all of us, and we ask, what would love do? And we find ways to regulate our systems, our nervous systems, to the earth and to the needs of our community and to what really serves us in being that agent of social change. We can step out into the world very centered, and feed the body and utilize those opportunities as a rite of passage, in the mind and in the body and in the soil, to learn what we're here to do, to support and create our new way forward. And I love this petunia just growing through the cracks. We all know the petunias, we all know the plantains, the chickweeds, the grasses. They may be really mangy, but wow, you give them a certain amount of circumstances that are conducive to life and they will do it. And so I love that as a symbolic lesson for all of us, to really know our gifts and treasure them and hold them, as well as surely offer them back as a giveaway to the world. What environment or ecology do you need to thrive? We could sing a song. I'm now 5:02, so I'm just aware of the time. I want to just share that this is our newsletter. So I'm wrapping it up now. It's our newsletter. I want to invite you all to keep in touch with us. This is actually hot off the press today. And I wanted to share that there's 2 meditations that are on Insight Timer. We also have a YouTube channel. There's just a few videos on composting and on, I think it's on sheet mulching. So you're welcome to follow us if you like. We have a blog also on our website. We have some job openings. There I am. There's a little video. And also, and I am also available for any questions that you may have. I really appreciate your attention. Thanks for playing with me, everybody. We may be adults, but we are inner children at heart.